Hey guys, welcome back to Get Wise. Thanks for joining us again. Welcome through the book of Proverbs together as we try to get wise together as we read from the scriptures about wisdom. So today we're in chapter 12 of Proverbs. So if you have your Bible app, if you'll go ahead and open that with me. In just a second, I'm going to have you pause the video and read through the chapter. Today, a lot of the Proverbs, or the verses, are kind of one-offs. There are some that kind of fit together, but remember, this is Solomon sharing wisdom with his kids, and so some of these are just wise things he wants them to know. And he does repeat himself some, but certainly repetition is a teaching method so that people will say, hey, this is really important. So let's do this. Why don't you go ahead and read through the chapter. If you have your your journal, I would encourage you to jot some things down. I think in this chapter, there are several verses around how we talk and the things that we say. So if you would jot some of those things down, as well as any other observations, other Proverbs here, verses that really stand out to you, if you'll write those down as well. We'll come back and I'll just kind of share with you some of the things that stuck out to me. Again, there's a lot of just kind of one-offs here, so it may not be the same things that stuck out to you, but just wanted to talk about those together. So pause the video and go ahead and read through the chapter. Okay, welcome back. Thanks for doing that. Thanks for pausing and reading through Proverbs 12. There's a lot of good stuff here. I just want to mention a couple things real quickly. First of all, the very first verse says, "Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but he who hates correction is stupid." I really appreciate Solomon. He's very straightforward and direct. He's not mincing words. He's talking to his kids, so he's saying, hey, listen, if you love discipline, if you want people to correct you so you can be better, so you can do things better, that's really good. And if you hate that, if you don't like correction, well, it's just dumb, because you're going to keep making the same mistakes and struggling when you could see those things corrected and get better. And so I think that's kind of interesting and fun. I also want to mention verse 4. He says, "A wife of noble character is her husband's crown." As a married man, I certainly appreciate what he's saying there. My wife is a woman of noble character. And I think it's really interesting. While he could have said a lot of things, he could have mentioned her beauty, he could have mentioned her productivity, but he doesn't. He says her character. She's a noble, just a woman full of character. It's like a crown to him, and I think it's a really beautiful picture, and so true. Okay, jump down with me to verse 15. We'll just do a couple more here. I want to land on one particular and talk a little bit longer about that one. Verse 15, though, says, "The way of the fool seems right to him, but a wise man listens to advice." It kind of goes back to what he says there in verse 1. Just how important it is for us to listen to the people around us, to really care about what others have to say. It's really easy for us to be very independent and say, hey, I'm just going to do things my way. I don't need to listen to anybody. I think that's really foolish. I think it's what Solomon's trying to teach us here, is that we don't want to be that way. We don't want to live that way. It's so important to gain the wisdom and insight from others. Now, we might not always take that wisdom or insight, but it's super helpful. And so I encourage you, as you're facing different forks in the road, life decisions, you talk to people around you that have some wisdom that can give you some insight as you kind of think through and pray through those things. All right, lastly, I just want to mention verse 25. It says, "An anxious heart weighs a man down, but a kind word cheers him up." I think that's super important, especially now in this quarantine and crisis that we're experiencing. I think a lot of people are feeling anxious, nervous, stressed about what's happening. Certainly a lot of people are struggling because they're out of work. A lot of businesses are having to close for a time. And so it's definitely, I think, wise for us to pray for those around us, but also just to give a kind word, to really see a part of our ability as a friend, as a neighbor, as a family member, to encourage people around us, to give a kind word, to help build people up around us. And so let me just encourage you to take some time this week to call some of your friends, call some people that maybe you haven't seen in a little while, and just listen, see how they're doing, see if they're feeling anxious. Maybe ask if there's ways you can pray for them. What an incredible way for us to just share the hope and the love of Christ with those around us, whether they believe or don't, just that we care about them, and just offer a kind word, really build them up. And so let me encourage you to do that. I think that Solomon really hits the nail on the head, especially for our situation right now. And so, hey, thanks again for joining us. I really appreciate you reading through. I'm sure there's lots of other verses here that we could have talked about, a lot of things that popped out to you. I certainly encourage you to communicate with us through the comments. Please don't hesitate to like and subscribe to these videos, but let us know things that you're learning. Some of the verses stuck out to you, because we'd love to hear that and what God's been teaching you. So thanks again. We love you guys, and have a good afternoon or day.